In the history of Nigerian activism, there's barely any mention of women and their roles as activists. We see a reliving of one of the greatest activists Africa has ever seen. Hello everyone, I'm Ayobami, and today on PartyJollof movie review, we'll be reviewing the movie Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti.
My name is Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti,
wife of the Right Reverend,
mother of Dulupo Olikoye, Fela, and Bekolari.
This is one of the best biopics I have ever seen, and coming from a Nigerian movie company is just an amazing thing. I enjoy historical movies, but you know, most of the time we don't really see historical movies in Nigeria, and even when we see them, they're not like true to the bones. You start seeing punctures, you are seeing O's and all, but this movie was just in a class of its own. Personally, for me, I enjoyed that I could learn. It was not just Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, the first woman who drove a car in Nigeria, or the mother of the legendary Fela. It was just a woman and a drive, a passion for activism. And this film did justice, killed it back to back. It was awesome. For me, Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti just came up again as a brilliant mind. We see a stage prowess and then film prowess coming together, marrying each other, and you know, it was just an amazing thing to see into the mind of a brilliant person, from producing to the directing to the casting to the writing. It was awesome. And I rarely say this about Nigerian biopics, but come on, this is just I can't put it to words. I was able to learn the in-depth details of this movie, from her being a child to her being a teenager to her going abroad and coming back, being an educator, being a fighter, and I don't mean a boxer, I mean an activist. It was just great. It was awesome, and I could see where Fela got his resilience from. His mother was stubborn. And when I mean stubborn, for somebody to stand up to the Alake of a country, of a state, you know, an Alake is the overall king. And she stood up to him, not just standing up to him, she forced him to abdicate the throne. Now, what do you call that kind of person?
Abeokuta, this is concerning the flat rate tax on the women of the water
No wonder she got that name, Lioness of Lisabi. For somebody to say, this is what we want to, and this is what we are going to do. It was perfect. It was just awesome. For her to, you know, a lot of things in this movie that just made me know that, you know, we need to start retelling our African stories. You know, we have a lot of heroes that we need to talk about, and it doesn't just have to stop in the national anthem, our heroes past. No, we need to know about them. So when you ask a Nigerian student about who Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti is, a lot of them have zero idea, or they just have the basic knowledge about, oh, she drove the first car. Nobody actually knows about the cause she fought for, you know, how she elevated women into nothing to something. And this movie just brought that to light. You could see that there's actually more to when we talk about our heroes past, and we need to just continue bringing out stories like this. And kudos to Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti for doing justice to our stories. So I'm going into the casting. For casting, Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti did so well. I have a feeling, I don't know, I was there she wrote her story, but I have a feeling that when she was, you know, thinking about this movie, she thought also about the actors that she was going to use, and it was so perfect, from the child to the middle age to the old Funmilayo. It was very brilliant. Iyimide, who played Frances is also Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti. You know, it was just very, very beautiful, and then we could see how our resilience, we could see where our resilience came from her father. Her father in the story was shown as this man who was a son of freed slaves and became a farmer, and from there became somewhat wealthy, you know, well-to-do. He was able to send his children to school, and we saw that he had this relationship with Frances, who also is Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti. Then was Frances Thomas. We saw the cordial relationship she had with her father, and with that, he was able to instill in her, you don't have to fear, you don't have to do this. Looking at middle-aged Funmilayo, we can just see the transitioning of her grit, her fearlessness, her stubbornness, everything it was very, very clear to see. So it was just amazing. I loved the actors. Kehindebankole for me was just on point. She embodied her character. I didn't have to imagine, or I didn't have to question the strength of Funmilayo. Kehindebankole did justice to that. She carried her well. She embodied her well. You know, she had this aura of authority. For instance, one of my best scenes was when she, you know, entered into the market and she saw the oppressors, that's the Farakois, and she stood up to one of them, to their leader, and slapped the guy. I was like, from where to where? You know, she had an understanding of who she was, and she just carried it. Kehinde was able to interpret that character. It was amazing. I love her. I love her acting. Everything about her in that movie was just on point. So for her husband, Ibrahim Suleiman, I was expecting more, and also I was expecting to hear him speak Yoruba, seeing that it was a Yoruba movie, not like Yoruba movie, but you get the settings, Egba land, Abeokuta, this and that. I was expecting that I was going to hear a lot of Yoruba. The only thing I heard was, you know, oh, Miss Minnie. I was like, is it the only Yoruba I'm going to hear? But anyways, he did well. He did well as a supportive husband. He was there to, you know, push her. Like the time where the women were not after her, the women were not really seen into her plans to, you know, take them away from an elite club to a women's society. He taught her what to do, how to become like them, how to dress like them, how to speak their languages, and you know, he acted as a supportive husband. He did well in that regard, but I was expecting more. But that's what he was given, so he did so well. For the younger Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, that's Iyimide. Iyimide did so well. I wasn't really expecting much because I had never seen her in a movie before, but I was very, very. It was a pleasant surprise, you know. She acted so well. It was a natural, even when she was fighting with the boys and a whole lot of things. Her chemistry with the younger Israel was very, very on point. I enjoyed watching her. She was a beauty on stage. For the Alake, I liked that it was distant. It really showed that it was disconnected from what was happening. He did not care about the women. He did not care about anything. And all he wanted was just his money. And it was very, very clear. We saw that Oga Bello, who is Adebayo Salami, played that role so well. You know, even when he was, you know, looking at her as, who is this? Who are you? A mere woman. He was looking at Funmilayo as a mere woman. He embodied that well. He just embodied the role of a nonchalant leader, and he did that well. There was no part of his acting that I felt was off, and it showed that he was a veteran, and he brought that out. It was amazing. I particularly liked the trio. That's the chemistry between the three of them, between Dele Odule, between Adebayo Salami, between Jide Kosoko. The three of them were just perfect. It was just a pleasant synergy between the three of them. I loved every part of their scene. It didn't look forced. It just shows that these guys, we've been in the game since we are not okay, we are not small, you know. It was just great. I love that. Let's move into the directing. I really enjoyed the directing of Bolande Austin Peters. She was brilliant. One major scene that I loved was at the Alake's palace, where the Alake had become, you know, tired of these women, and it was like, these people are just noisy, and you know, how can we send these women away? You know, he just brought in the oro to the women. And in Yoruba land, if you're a Yoruba person, you know that women cannot look upon the oro. But what I love about this scene is that the women were also prepared, and they brought in the women, I don't know what they're called, but they brought in the women fraternity, and these women, you know, opened up their shirts, and we could see their bare chest, and they were like, you know, fire for fire. We cannot see your face, we cannot see our nakedness and all. It was just crazy. I love that part. That part was very, very sweet, and you know, the directing for that part was awesome. And one major thing also that I love was the amount of women that were used in that movie. You know, you have a crowd of women, and to control a small crowd is not beans, not to talk about a large crowd of women, for that matter, old women. It was obvious that not all these women were educated, and for them to be able to, you know, act, and it was just beautiful. I loved it. I loved the colors. Bonali Osipita did so well with the directing, with the costume. She was also in charge of the costume, and it showed. Like, I love the use of Adire. I love Adire so much, and seeing beautiful fabrics, beautiful colors, it was very, very rich. And that's to show you that we have a lot that we can show in this country, and we have a lot that we can talk about, a lot of indigenous stories that we can also push out. You know, it was just amazing. I love that about it. For the screenwriting, for a biopic, it's very, very hard to miss it. But I could see their research, I could see their hard work in the screenwriting. It was very true. It wasn't a lie. Looking at it, you know that this story wasn't a lie. And even, you know, I don't know how I would have felt as a member of the Kuti family watching that kind of beautiful thing about my grandmother, my mother, my great grandmother. It would have been so beautiful. And that's one thing about screenwriting that I love. No matter what genre you're writing, just be true to your writings. Be true. Be able to, you know, speak the mind of people. And this movie did justice to that. It was very, very beautiful. It was easy. It was straight to the point. We could see everything from the beginning to the end. We saw our life in general. Like in picture, we saw the life of Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, and it was very beautiful. So let us dive right into the scorecard. Okay. For cinematography, it gets a whooping 0.9. For directing, it has a 1 point. For editing also gets 1 point. For the plot, that's the storyline gets 0.9. For the story execution, it gets a 1. For the acting also gets a 1. For the music gets a 0.5. And for the theme gets a 0.9. Okay, altogether, we've arrived at a cumulative score of 9/10. Woohoo! So Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti gets a whooping 9/10. Kudos to the production company, kudos to BAP Productions, well done. So we've come to the end of today's review. Please like, share, and subscribe. The more you like, the more you share, the algorithm shows a lot of people and they get to enjoy what you're enjoying. And also, we at PartyJollof Africa say no to piracy. See you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you. It's a wrap.